As we were looking and trying to find out, is there a way that we can provide a base? What does that look like? We went out and we talked to people because, quite frankly, finding space requires that we pay rent, and we need to think about that. And so we were looking for potential donors to actually help subsidize keeping this group together. What would that look like? And when you saw in the letter, it talked about a 501c3. One of the things that we kept hearing from the donors was we need to be able to have a group that we are being able to donate to. So that is why we wanted to make sure that we were sharing that information with what we were hearing about donors. We did also say, find out that there is some rental space available at the Martin Luther King building, and that there's a potential for keeping the group there. One of the things that we've also been trying to think about is if we're trying to keep this group together, what would that look like even if we were going to return you back here and we were able to figure out what that looks like in a partnership with the school program that's here. Nonetheless, we still have to be able to remodel this building. So we have to find something for that interim period also so that we can do that work. We are committed to trying to figure out how do we do that? What does that look like? We also know that, for instance, Washington Middle School, right now it is continuing to grow. We are putting portables all over that site. We eventually need to open meeting because we know that it's important that our students are not all out in portables, and we can educate them in the buildings throughout the day. So as we do that, then we know that we may have portable spaces available to be, and we could use that maybe during the day or in the evenings after school. We need to look at that. That's a potential option for us.
Over the last 2 months, these things should be dug into deeply to be presented as a package. Next week is August 15th, right here. When I say we have to look at it, I mean it's very vague, and you see what 2 levels we can go to. It can turn into a conflict, which we don't want to go that route because we'd rather be productively programming and working with our children. But if everything is displaced, then now you have that type of environment set up. Or we can, you can dig, because you're talking about other people's resources. Martin Luther King, some donors over here, and some of this over there. But the district is what, $700 million, almost $1 billion organization. $14 million is supposed to go into this building. What is it going to contrast look like? Who's going to be working on the building? So these are real, there's a lot of issues wrapped up in this process. So we need to become very substantive about what we're talking about. And not, we're past the kind of just throwing ideas. I feel like we should be having something on the board that we're evaluating. We should have had a task force with some district members and some community members. Seriously, we know how the thing really moves forward. So can we get to that so that otherwise the community, does the community feel like you're hearing something strong? I want to help the process move, but I can't sell, castles in the sky. So can we please get to some? Yes.
Can I ask a question about the construction? There's 2 questions. One of them is with regards to the construction. How imperative is it in terms of safety? Like for me, if a building is functioning, which this building is functioning, it's functioning in such a form that the physical structure of the building, if it's not an impediment to that spiritual, mental, physical, energetic functioning that's occurring here that you cannot manufacture with material things, if that's happening, what is a good enough excuse to interrupt that? That's my number 1 question. Okay, that's my number 1 question. Because for me, unless it's somebody's job, you've promised them that they got to start on the 15th. This is bigger than anybody's paycheck. This is our young people. I have 7 children. I can put all of them. I don't have a single one in the Seattle Public Schools. After tonight, and I've known this man since I was in high school with him. I've known some of these people for a long time. This is the only place that I'm considering bringing my children to, because I don't trust anybody to to train them, to teach them, to educate them other than this father, family. It's very important because we don't want to miseducate them any further than we've already been. The first thing I want to know is it possible to move the construction forward? Is there a way to move that? Because it seems to me, until there is a solid plan of how this community is going to continue to flourish and engage and thrive, then there's no good reason, unless you're going to talk about building fall down. I went to Garfield High School. When we had parts of the building falling down on us, we were going to school there still. The school was not a majority Caucasian at that point. So when I was going to school there, that was okay. And we were fine with that because we actually had a real energy there. We had some things going on at Garfield. So for me, that's another thing. But so the number one thing is, how imperative is that construction? Can it be delayed? Is there a way to actually manipulate that rather than manipulating this? The second question I have is what I feel like as a point of dialogue that is really disturbing to me, and it comes from a perspective of having grown up in pretty much all Caucasian environments as a young person, where anything as a discussion about people who are not Caucasian is as an other, marginalized, alternative, extra, this side thing. It's like a side thing. Let me tell you something. If Caucasian youths were being marginalized in the Seattle public schools the way that melanin children are, there would be a totally different response. So that's
totally different conversation we be having right now.
And that's coming from, I know this. I know this from both perspectives, okay? Right. This whole community knows this. So I'm speaking to you as someone who maybe is not the greatest authority on a certain point on it. But what I'm telling you is, when I hear the language of this talk, of saying that this is sort of like this little community thing going on, this is the most important thing. This is more, to me, if the school system is proven on a daily basis, every day, to be failing, children are not learning. And now you've got a place where they are learning. They are growing. Children need something to put their hands into, their mind into, to develop. They don't need to be shut down and deadened. And that is what is happening in the schools. And so we cannot prioritize the Seattle public schools above, as a body. You say, okay, well, the students, like someone was saying, the students are here. These are students. This is an active, dynamic, living school. So it must be treated with that sort of respect, not marginalized as an other. This isn't a community thing where people get it together and I don't know what, just having cooking classes. It's not just anything, no matter what it is, because it's so vital. And so I feel like it needs to be talked about in the level of respect. For what's here, I don't hear that in the language. I hear it being sort of like that. And it can't be that way, or you know what?
It's a community
it's just
center.
Gonna really, it's not.
To underscore that point,
Just a little community
one
center.
student or family at the center school that was offended by the curriculum, and the whole curriculum was down, and the teachers were community of children and families that have been offended, and they're saying it needs some forgiveness. We're not hearing the answer.